Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Emmanuelle Richer. I'm a professor of political science here at the University of Windsor, and I'm delighted to chair this panel on zombies in popular culture. Um, so I will present the speakers today. We have Dr. Bill Clemente, who is a professor of English at Peru State College. Next, we have Dr. Natasha Wiebe, who is an adjunct assistant professor at the Faculty of Education here at the University of Windsor. And last but not least, Dr. Chera Key, who is an assistant professor of English at the College of Liberal Arts and Science at Wayne State University. So the way we will proceed today, each speaker will be given 15 minutes to make his or her presentation, and then we will follow with a Q&A session. So we will begin right away with Dr. Clemente.
Excuse me, is that good? I've taken out the critical addendum, put it back in at another time, just to get through the paper. And if you haven't seen the movies, I think there's enough in here that you can follow what goes on. The low-budget Colin takes place at the beginning of an apparent zombie apocalypse in London when people have yet to come to terms with the reality of the horror getting underway, from how to dispatch the walking dead to the impossibility of saving the infected. The opening scenes reveal Colin, hammer in hand, walking steadily to his flat, where in his kitchen blood trickles down his arm from, we learn at the film's conclusion, a zombie bite from his girlfriend, Laura. While Colin attends to his wound, Damien, his flatmate, viciously attacks Colin, rendering a fatal bite to the back of the head that accelerates Colin's transformation into the undead. The film renders primarily a first-person account of Colin's alteration, often offering the zombie's point of view, and delivers a perspective that produces a certain immediacy that further accentuates the pathos this rather gentle protagonist's degeneration generates. Colin, for example, from time to time views his reflection in the glass in a mirror, though with decreasing recognition. In addition, close-ups of his hands chronicle increasing spastic articulations just as his appearance deteriorates over the course of the film until at the conclusion, an IED has blown half his face and his head has sustained a hammer blow. Significantly enough, at this revealing juncture in the film, what appeared at his random choices of direction conclude by underscoring his apparent loss of agency that reveals instead the core of his humanity and an expression of prevailing desire for what he has lost. Locked in his room after his infection, Colin cannot negotiate the door handle. He eventually and comically falls out the window, a strategic maneuver by which Price begins to develop his zombie as more perplexed than voracious. Outside his fat, Colin seems lost when he looks at signs that point in two directions, black arrows with an orange background, suggesting his loss of agency that characterizes the compulsion that drives the more traditional zombies. In fact, however, as the film eventually reveals, the direction signs refer to similar images in Laura's flat, the memory of which and the attraction to her that motivate his circuitous path. After the zombie that she had trapped in her bathroom bites Laura's face, when she and Colin struggle to smash the infected woman's skull, Colin stays with her until she turns, affectionately cradling her head in his arms. Before he uses the hammer to put his loved one out of her misery, waiting too long in his own despair, she bites him on the wrist, ensuring his infection. The zombie Colin, however, rebels against the traditional zombies viewers anticipate. He expresses, for instance, little interest in human flesh and never attacks a person whom other zombies have not yet first dispatched. At another juncture in the film, after Walking Dead overwhelm overmatched people in the confines of a house, boy, that one sounds familiar, one woman manages to escape, whom Colin, who seems not to have taken part in the bloody affair, follows. This unfortunate woman eventually falls into a basement den of horror where a deranged human gouges the eyes out of female zombies and photographs the marks of the gruesome torture he inflicts on his victims, conscious actions that make him more monstrous than any zombie in the film. Colin eventually leaves the unfortunate woman to her fate, for he followed her not for ghoulish intent, but because she resembles Laura. While Colin lacks in general the mindless craving for flesh that defined the traditional zombie, the film shows humans as their own worst enemy in a zombie apocalypse. Previous to the sequence in the basement, for example, two men spot Colin and attack him, not to double tap his skull, but living off the dead, to steal his shoes. With the help of others, Linda, his sister, drives off the thieves to save her brother. Unfortunately, her efforts to help Colin have unintended consequences. Her brother bites her wrist. Soon a zombie herself, Linda joins her brother in the same room where their mother hopes to secret them. Unlike Colin, inept with door handles, Laura flips the latch and allows Colin to continue his tragic course that concludes when he finally reaches the destination that actually directs his movements throughout the film, Laura's flat. Here he sits down beside his dead girlfriend and, one hopes, experiences some semblance of pity-inducing closure. Fido, a zombie, likewise evokes strong emotions, and serious social and political currents inform the film. In the movie, Willard, the town to which Romero's humans thought to go in the original Night of the Living Dead, survived the zombie apocalypse. Frozen in the 50s, the all-white middle-class population seems to live contented lives thanks to the security ZomCon provides. This global corporation informs all aspects of the society, from teaching young children how to dispatch zombies. The youngsters' outside school activities consist of target practice, with the children singing that shots to the head are best. To burials, ZomCon's service consists of dual caskets, one for the severed head and one for the body, for enough radiation remains in circulations that all dead awaken as zombies. Indeed, unlike most zombie films, the citizens of Willard do not so much fear that zombies will kill them as much as they fear becoming a zombie, which marks a significant connection with the traditional Haitian zombie, a figure of both repression and rebellion. The company also provides zombies for all manner of menial tasks, including the manufactures of the very Geiger collars Dr. Rothgar Geiger designed that helped win the zombie war and that control the Walking Dead's compulsion to devour human flesh. The manner in which ZomCon harvests zombies from the wild areas as cheap labor resembles the use of zombies at Hasco, the Haitian-American sugar company described to William Seaburg by Concerts Polonais in the Magic Island in 1929. The zombies who work for Hasco bear close connections with the zombies chained to their stations in the bowel of ZomCon's factory. As Jonathan Bottoms, head of ZomCon security, tells elementary school students, without ZomCon, we'd be dead. The Walking Dead of ZomCon represent repressed workers and races. As such, they contain the seeds of revolt. For in all-white Willards, zombies represent the disposable poor, the only people of color. In this respect, zombie gray is the new black. The zombie, like ZomCon itself, controls the citizen of Willard by manipulating people's fears and perpetuating the myth of zombie danger to legitimize corporate consumption. The zombie butler, Fido, will trigger the revolt that begins with his arrival at the tranquil Robinson household, joining Bill and Helen and their son, Timmy. Helen, against her husband's wishes, purchases Fido to keep up with the new neighbors, ZomCon's chief of security, Mr. Bottoms, whose wife multiple zombies serve. Timmy's father, Bill, despises and fears the zombies and has never recovered from having to kill his own father during the zombie wars. Obsessed with death, Bill reads Death magazine at night. And when Helen tells him something even Fido recognizes, that she's pregnant, he worries that he cannot afford another ZomCon headless funeral. heartless Bill has become something of a zombie. Helen quickly becomes enamored of the equally powerless Fido, cupping his cheek early in the film and telling him that she wished she had known him before his death. Fido eventually wears Bill's suit, sits in Bill's chair, dances with Helen when Bill refuses, and readily assumes Bill's role as father. The awkward Timmy, bullied at school by two young Zomcom and brown shirts, quickly befriends the new addition to the family, naming him Fido, who he calls a la Lassie, boy. Given that household zombies cannot go outside without a leash, Fido clearly is Timmy's loyal pet. Unlike Colin, Fido shows increasing emotions. He growls, for example, at Bill, who enjoys giving Fido electric shocks with his collar control device. He grunts with joy while playing ball with Timmy, and he pretty much coos softly in the presence of Helen. Curry adeptly sutures the camera's point of view to Fido's gaze at important junctures in the film to suggest the zombie's increasing fondness for Helen, who enjoys his attention. While Timmy and Fido wash the family car, for example, Helen brings her boys lemonade. As she approaches, the camera assumes Fido's perspectives and brings her into a romantic, slowed motion, soft focus that Timmy's spray of cold water suddenly interrupts. Later, when the two brown shirts who torment Timmy tie him to a tree and deactivate Fido's collar, Fido does not harm Timmy. Instead, because his dysfunctional figures cannot undo the knots in the rope, Timmy, in Lassie Come Home fashion, tells Fido to run home and fetch Helen. Driving the car to Timmy's house, rescued Helen, feeling more empowered the more she knows Fido, drives with a pistol on her lap. Turning to Fido, she asks, "You won't hurt me, will you?" But Fido's eyes are focused not on the gun, but fixed on her thigh. "Oh, Fido," Helen whispers with a blush. Fido's desire and Helen's find partial fulfillment at the film's conclusion. After a zombie horde gets through the confinement phase, when Mr. Bottoms attempted to throw Timmy into the wild air, because the boys sneaked into Zoncon to rescue Fido, the shotgun-toting Bill Robinson joins Fido, who used a saw to break free from the chains that keep zombies at their stations. In the melee that ensues, Bottom fatally shoots Bill. Deactivating his friend's collar, Timmy sicks Fido on Bottoms. As zombies pour into Zoncom compound, Fido, carrying Bill's body, Timmy, and Helen escape. The film concludes with the Robinsons' backyard, where zombies mix freely with others, one playing chess, while Bottoms arrives at the end of a leash his daughter holds. The integration of zombies with the whites after the revolt, this is not playing, there we go. The integration of zombies with the whites after the revolt is hardly thorough. For the zombies, including Fido, still wear collars. The Robinsons' yard nevertheless offers hope, as Fido, now in the role of stepfather, rather joyfully caresses Helen's new baby's cheek, and smoking a cigarette, with evident delight, he gazes at Helen, who offers him in response a coquettish smile. Bruce LaBruce's Otto, or Up with Dead People, mixes gore with gay pornography and presents an emerging sentient zombie. Arriving in Berlin with a head full of static and infrared-like vision, Otto suffers from anti-gay repression, but also revolts against the confines of the traditional zombies characterization, those the film director media yarns, a film within a film within a film, attempts to impose on him. Like Colin, Otto expresses little interest in human flesh. Early in the film, he munches on a flower and ponders whether in his past life he was a vegetarian, something his former lover eventually confirms. Over the course of the film, Otto consumes a roadkill rabbit, a pigeon, and a cat. In the film, Medea Yarn makes of him, Otto eats raw chicken, a food he initially finds repugnant, as he comes to realize his estranged father is a butcher, as Otto's former lover reminds him. Feeling vulnerable to Berlin, where on more than one occasion a small group of young Turkish teens try to assault him, Otto sees a sign, calling all zombies. And because he needs money and a place to stay, he joins Medea Yarn's cast. Given to Marxist-inspired anti-American and anti-capitalist rants, Yarn struggles for years to complete her film. The Bruce uses her in part, he says, to pay homage to Maya Deren, a famous avant-garde director. Yarn's film features pornographic violence that includes gay body fucking. In the film, the actor Fritz Fritzry, enraged that a gang kills his lover Maximilian, becomes a guerrilla leader of homosexual zombies who bite and fuck the young. And yes, in Yarn's objectively offensive film, Fritz smokes after this brutal sex. This rather naive film of revolt that casts Fritz as the Che Guevara of the undud gays, fucking them into immortality, concludes with a pretentious and unmotivated spectacle of gay gore. That the sequence cuts, a gay orgy, excuse me, the sequence cuts between the entwined bodies of the orgiastic display and the recurring images of raw chicken butcher's cut connects Otto to this film, in which, significantly enough, he plays no discernible role. Yet he in effect revolts against the categories assigned either by Yarn or by, himself. Yes, okay. Is it already 14 minutes? Endeavors to make Yarn, well, anyway, she wants to make him prince of the zombies sitting on a pile of trash, and he does that. There are, however, that makes up the difference, two important scenes where Otto engages in lovemaking. I may go over a minute. The first one, he meets a gay outside of a bar called Flesh, and the zombies are pretending, the gay zombies are pretending to be zombie, and he goes home with him and wakes up with blood all over the walls, the lover with a gash in his intestines falling out, and the lover says, "Can we do this again right now?" The other scene, though, is with Fritz, his friend, whom he stays with, and this is like Otto and Fritz do no bodily harm to each other, and Otto's white-rimmed zombie eyes adopt a human hue, a sequence that reveals Otto's increased sentience and offers a possibility that it could reanimate as a human. The note R.I.P. Otto that awakened Fritz discovers on his pillow suggests otherwise. The rest in peace refers, on the one hand, to the conclusion of Yarn's documentary when the depressed Otto self-immolates. The rest in peace also indicates, on the other hand, that Otto revolts in his gentle manner against definitions imposed on him. The film's closing sequence finds Otto walking into a proverbial sunset, a lady eating a rainbow, the colors of the LGBT banner anointing his direction. Otto leaves in part because the living have no respect for the dead, and he hopes to discover a whole new way of death. His new direction, as do the endings of the other two films, highlight the fact that zombies continue to tell new stories. To survive a zombie apocalypse, the films indicate, we must listen to the narratives of the repressed and the rebellion they relate, especially because zombies are us. These films and others like them liberate the mute and compulsive living zombie and give voice to these traditionally unvoiced undead. The collusion of Otto also calls to mind the end of the Land of the Dead, when some of the survivors of the zombie apocalypse leave the place controlled now by Big Daddy. They escape to the north, to cooler air, perhaps to discover a whole new way of life in Canada, a country to which many of us in the United States consider relocating at the juncture in this country's history in an attempt to escape in a potential apocalypse. And I apologize for going over just a bit. Thank you.
Dr. Clemente.